He rescued an alien elder, but what she gave him next shocked everyone. Space Station was silent, except for the sound of dripping pipes and the echo of distant alarms. The corridors smelled of rust and smoke, and most of the lights flickered. Weakly, it was supposed to be abandoned. That was what the human had been told when he came here. But he knew better. He could feel it in the air, the kind of silence that was hiding something alive. He was just a worker. Nothing special, nothing great. People called him a janitor, a cleaner, a man who picked up the trash after the real work was done. He never argued. He had learned long ago that words meant little in the galaxy. What mattered was what you chose to do when no one was watching. And right now, he was alone in a place no one wanted to be. Then he heard it. A sound so faint that at first he thought it was just the pipes creaking again. But no, this was different. It was a voice, weak, trembling, almost like a whisper pulled. From the edge of death, he froze, listening harder. Help. The word was not in his language. It was alien, strange, but somehow he understood the meaning in his bones. His steps grew cautious as he followed the sound deeper into the ruined corridor. His flashlight cut through the dust-filled air, showing collapsed walls and broken machinery. And then he saw her dot an alien woman, frail, old, her skin pale like cracked marble, her silver eyes dim with exhaustion. She was trapped beneath a heavy beam, her frail arms trembling as she tried to push it away. She looked like a grandmother, wrinkled and fragile, but her body carried the scars of long battles. The human rushed forward without thinking. He dropped his tools and pushed against the beam. His muscles screamed as he forced it upward, bit by bit, inch by inch, until finally, it rolled aside. Dust exploded into the air. The alien grandmother gasped, clutching her chest. For a moment, their eyes met. She studied him not with fear, but with something else, relief. You? Human? She whispered, her voice cracked and broken. He blinked in surprise. She knew his. Kind? He nodded. Yes, I'm human. You're safe now. Her lips trembled. She tried to sit up, but almost collapsed again. He quickly slid his arms beneath her, lifting her as gently as he could. She was light, too light, like she hadn't eaten in weeks. Why are you here? He asked quietly, glancing around in case someone else was near. Her hand shook as she reached into her robe and pressed something into his palm. A pendant, glowing faintly with golden light, carved with symbols he didn't understand. Take this, she whispered. Protect her. He frowned. Her? Who? But she only coughed, her chest heaving with effort. Her body was breaking. Down, yet her eyes burned with urgency. The station groaned around them, metal shifting as if the walls themselves were alive. The human tightened his grip on her, ready to move. I don't know who you mean, he said firmly, but I'll protect you. You're not dying here. Her fingers trembled against his chest. No, not me. Another. You will see. Be gentle. With her. Before he could ask more, the sound of footsteps echoed through the corridor. Heavy, sharp. Not the sound of rescue, but of pursuit. The alien grandmother stiffened in his arms, her eyes wide with fear. They come, she whispered. The human pressed her closer to his chest and moved quickly, his boots splashing through shallow water on the floor. He could hear the voices now deep, guttural, and cruel. Hunters. Whoever they weren't here to save. An old woman. He ducked into a side passage, carrying her as carefully as he could. She trembled against him, but she did not speak again. Her strength was fading fast. Finally, they reached an old maintenance hatch. He set her down for a moment, forcing it open with his shoulder. Beyond it was darkness, but also safety. He helped her through, then crawled in after her, sealing the hatch just as the footsteps thundered past. Inside the cramped tunnel, they sat in silence. The human could hear her breathing, weak and shallow. He stared at the pendant glowing faintly. In his hand, protect her dot, who was her. What had he just gotten himself into? The alien grandmother shifted slightly, her eyes half closed, her voice little more than a breath. You will know soon. But remember, the reward is not what you think. Be gentle. With her. Her words sent a chill down his spine. He didn't understand, but he felt it. Whatever she meant, it was important. And it was coming for him, whether he wanted it or not. The human sat there in the dark tunnel, clutching the pendant and listening to the faint breaths of the alien. Grandmother he had just saved. Somewhere in the distance, the hunters prowled the station, searching. He didn't know it yet, but this was only the beginning. And the reward waiting for him would change his life forever. The tunnel was cold and damp, the kind of place where shadows felt alive. The human sat in silence, holding the frail alien grandmother close, her breathing shallow and uneven. His hand still clutched the strange glowing pendant she had pressed into his palm. Its faint golden light flickered, casting strange symbols on the walls of the narrow passage. He didn't understand its meaning, but he felt its weight, like it wasn't just an ornament, but a responsibility. The station groaned again above them, as if the metal itself remembered the battles it had seen. The footsteps of the hunters had faded for now, but the human knew they would return. They weren't here by chance. They were searching for her dot. The old alien stirred, her lips moving. At first it was just a whisper, but then her voice grew a little clearer. You saved me, she said, her silver eyes glimmering faintly. No human would have risked so much for one like me. He gave a small smile, though his eyes stayed, sharp on the shadows. Doesn't matter what species you are. You were in trouble? I helped, that's all. Her hand trembled as it touched the pendant in his grip. No, that is not all. You do not understand. What you carry now, it will change everything. The words chilled him. What is this thing? Why give it to me? Her gaze softened, but her voice shook with warning. Because only a human can bear it without breaking. Only you can protect her. She is the last of us. And if she falls, my people fall with her. He frowned, confused. Protect her. Again, the same mystery. Who is she? He asked. The alien. Grandmother's lips curved into the faintest smile. You will know soon, but be gentle with her. She carries more than life inside her. She carries a future none can imagine. Before he could press further, the sound returned. Heavy boots, clanging against metal. Voices louder now. The hunters were back, sweeping the corridors like wolves sniffing blood. The human cursed under his breath. He couldn't fight them with his bare hands, not while carrying her. His only chance was to stay ahead, keep moving, and trust his instincts. Shifted her gently on his back, the way one might carry an old woman too weak to walk. Despite her frailty, she rested calmly, almost as if she trusted him more than she trusted her own kind. The tunnel opened into an abandoned section of the station. Rusted doors, broken screens, and walls covered in alien writing long forgotten. The pendant's glow pulsed brighter here, as if reacting to the surroundings. The old alien whispered, This place. This was once our sanctuary. Now it is ruins. But hidden here lies a path forward. The hunters must not find it first. The human's eyes narrowed. What are they after? You? Or this? Her you keep talking about? Her silence was answer enough. A sudden noise metal crashing against the floor. The human spun, flashlight in hand. Shadows twisted along the wall, then moved. The hunters. Their silhouettes were tall, armored, and inhumanly fast. Their guttural voices echoed like growls. The human ducked into another passage, his boots slipping on wet floors as he ran. The old alien clung to his shoulders, whispering weakly, "Don't stop. Don't let them take me." He didn't. Plan on it. The corridor led to a wide chamber, once an engineering hub. Dead machines stood like giant skeletons. Broken wires dangled from the ceiling like vines. The pendant in his hand pulsed again, brighter, stronger, pulling his attention toward a hidden corner of the chamber. Something was there. He approached quickly, setting the old alien down on a pile of soft insulation so she could rest. Then he followed the glow. His hands brushed against a loose panel in the wall. When he pushed it aside, his jaw tightened. Behind the panel was a pod, small, sleek, still humming faintly with energy, even after all these years. And inside it, a figure, a girl, alien, yet strikingly beautiful. Her skin shimmered faintly like starlight, her features soft yet regal. She looked young, maybe the alien equivalent of a human teenager, but her body was curled in the pod as if in a deep sleep. The human froze. So this was the her the grandmother spoke of. He turned back to the old woman, who now watched with tears in her silver eyes. "You found her?" she whispered. "The last seed of my people. She must live, even if I do not." The human's chest tightened. He understood now. The pendant wasn't just a gift. It was a key. And the girl in the pod wasn't just another alien. She was the hope of an entire species. Before he could respond, the chamber door exploded open. Hunters stormed inside, their weapons glowing with deadly light. Their leader snarled, pointing straight at the pod. "Take it!" The human's instincts flared. He didn't think. He moved. Snatching up the pendant, he slammed his hand against the pod. A golden light surged, wrapping around the sleeping girl like a shield. The hunters fired, but the energy from the pendant deflected the blasts, sending sparks flying across. The room. The alien grandmother cried out, her voice breaking. Protect her at all costs." The human gritted his teeth, standing between the pod and the hunters. He wasn't a soldier, wasn't a hero, just a janitor, a worker, someone who cleaned up after others. But at this moment, none. Of that mattered God, he was the only thing standing between life and extinction. And he wasn't going to fail. The human stood tall, his breath heavy, his fists clenched around the glowing pendant. In front of him, the pod shimmered with golden light, shielding the sleeping alien girl from the hunter's weapons. Behind him, the alien grandmother struggled to sit up, her eyes wide with fear and hope. The hunters advanced, their leader snarling. His armored frame loomed in the broken chamber lights, his voice like metal, grinding against stone. "Step aside, human. That pod does not belong to you." The human didn't flinch. "She's not yours either." The leader laughed, a cruel, hollow sound. "You don't understand. She is property. An experiment. A tool. She will awaken as ours or not at all." The human's jaw tightened. He wasn't trained for this, wasn't armed, but something inside him burned. That girl in the pod wasn't property. She was alive. She deserved more than to be treated as a weapon. The grandmother's weak voice cut through the air. "No, she is more than they know. She is the seed, the last breath of our kind. If they take her, all is lost." The hunters raised their rifles. The pendant in the human's hand pulsed, stronger and faster, almost as if it was alive, responding to his determination. And then it happened. The pod began to open. A soft hiss escaped as the seal broke, and a wave of cool mist filled the chamber. The girl's body stirred inside, her glowing skin faint beneath the haze. Her silver eyes flickered open for the first time in centuries. The hunters froze. Stunned. The human turned just in time to see her sit up slowly, her movements graceful yet uncertain. She looked around the chamber, confused, vulnerable, until Her gaze landed on him. For a moment, the world went silent. She blinked, tilting her head as if trying to understand who he was. Then her lips parted, and her voice soft but resonant, like a melody filled the air. You are not one of them. The human nodded firmly. No, I'm here to protect you. The hunters roared in anger. Their leader stepped forward, his weapon humming. Do not listen to him. He is nothing. He cannot protect you from us. The girl's expression hardened. She reached for the pendant glowing in the human's hand. When her fingers brushed against it, the light erupted. Golden energy burst outward, knocking the hunters back like rag dolls. Their weapons clattered across the floor, useless. The human staggered but kept his grip firm, stunned by the surge of power. The girl's touch had awakened the pendant's true strength. Her eyes locked with his, glowing brighter now. The bond has chosen, she whispered. You are the guardian. The human shook his head, bewildered. Guardian? No, I'm just... You are more, the alien grandmother interrupted, her voice trembling with awe. The pendant chose you because you carry something rare among all species' selfless courage. You risked everything without promise of reward. That makes you worthy. The hunters snarled, rising to their feet. Their leader slammed his fist into the wall, shaking the chamber. Enough of this. She is coming with us, and the human dies. Dozens of armored figures surged forward. The girl stepped out of the pod, her bare feet touching the cold floor, the golden energy flowing around her like a shield. She raised her hand, and the pendant's light answered, forming a barrier between them and the hunters. Sparks flew as energy blasts collided with the shield, but she stood firm. The human moved beside her, his heart pounding. He still didn't understand half of what was happening, but he knew one thing. He wasn't leaving her. The girl glanced at him. You cannot fight them alone, but together. We might stand a chance. He smirked, despite the chaos. Then, let's give them a fight they'll never forget. The chamber erupted into chaos. Hunters charged, their weapons firing. The girl unleashed waves of golden light, shattering their armor and sending them flying. The human ducked and dodged, using broken pipes and heavy tools as improvised weapons. He swung with raw determination, each strike fueled by the knowledge that this fight was bigger than himself. At one point, a hunter pinned him against the wall, claws digging into his chest. The human gasped, struggling until the girl's voice rang out like thunder. Release him. A beam of energy shot from her hand, blasting the hunter across the chamber. She ran to him, helping him back to his feet. Her touch was warm, almost too warm, but steady. You bleed for me, she whispered. Looking at the cut on his chest, he forced a grin. Guess that makes us even? You blasted one for me. She laughed softly, the sound almost out of place. Amid the chaos, but it gave him strength. The grandmother's voice cut through again, urgent. You must escape. This chamber will not hold forever. The hunters are endless. Take her, take the key, and run. The human looked at the girl. She nodded. We must go, now. They grabbed the grandmother, lifting her carefully. The pendant pulsed once more, showing a hidden door at the far end of the chamber. The human sprinted toward it, the girl at his side, golden energy clearing their path. Behind them, the hunters roared, their leader's voice echoing with fury. Run, human, run while you can, but we will find you. And when we do, no power will save you. The door sealed behind them with a hiss. Darkness swallowed the passage ahead. Only the glow of the pendant lit their path. The human glanced at the girl walking beside him. Her silver eyes glowed faintly, her face a mix of fear and determination. She wasn't just some alien. She was the legacy of a dying race. And now, somehow, she was his responsibility. He tightened his grip on the pendant. He didn't know how long he could keep them safe, didn't know what dangers lay ahead. But one thing was certain. This was only the beginning. The hidden passage stretched on, its walls damp with condensation, its air thick and heavy. The humans. Footsteps echoed as he carried the grandmother carefully, while the alien girl walked beside him, her glow faint but steady, the pendant's light showing the way. Every sound made his heart race. Every creak in the metal, every hiss of steam felt like a warning. He knew the hunters would not give up. They were too determined, too desperate. Behind them, the grandmother coughed weakly. "You must move faster. They will find us." The human tightened his grip, his muscles aching. "I'll carry you as far as I need to. Just stay with me." The girl glanced back, her silver eyes flickering with fear. "He's right. They're not far behind. I can feel their presence." The human frowned. "Feel them?" She nodded. "Their rage is like fire in the dark. It follows us. It hunts us." Suddenly, a deep metallic thud shook the passage. The walls rattled. Somewhere far behind, the hunters were forcing their way in. The grandmother whispered, her voice trembling. "They are breaking the seals. They won't stop until they have me, and her." The human gritted his teeth. He wasn't a soldier, but he knew survival. He'd fought to protect his family once, and now he found himself protecting strangers, who were quickly becoming more important than he wanted to admit. He looked at the girl. "Is there another way out?" She placed her palm against the wall. The pendant pulsed, and faint lines appeared on the metal, revealing a second path hidden beneath. "This way," she said, her voice steady. The wall opened, and they slipped into a narrow tunnel. The air was colder here, carrying the faint scent of chemicals. Pipes lined the walls, dripping with greenish liquid. The human adjusted his grip on the grandmother. "Where does this lead?" The girl hesitated. "To the lower levels. The old reactor chambers. But it is dangerous. Few who go there return." The grandmother's weak hand clutched his sleeve. "Danger is better than capture. They must not have her." The human nodded. He didn't like it, but there was no choice. He followed the glowing lines deeper into the dark. The tunnel opened into a massive chamber. Rusted machinery loomed over them like sleeping giants. Pipes hissed steam into the air. The floor was uneven, littered with debris from decades of neglect. Humans set the grandmother down gently, letting her lean against a wall. She was pale, her breathing shallow. The girl knelt beside her. "Rest, grandmother. I will keep you safe." The old alien shook her head weakly. "No, child. He will. Keep you safe. Trust him. Trust the bond." The girl looked at the human, her expression unreadable. He avoided her gaze, focusing instead on the distant sounds echoing through the chamber. Footsteps, heavy, relentless. "They're here," he muttered. The girl stood, her glow intensifying. "Then we fight." The human pulled a length of broken pipe from the ground. It wasn't much, but it was something. He looked at the girl. "Stay close to me." The hunters entered the chamber in a wave of black armor and red lights. Their leader's voice thundered across the metal walls. "End this now. Kill the human. Take the girl." The girl's silver eyes flared. Energy burst from her hands, forming a golden barrier that stopped the first volley of gunfire. The air crackled with power as the hunters advanced. The human charged, swinging the pipe with raw force. He struck one hunter across the helmet, sending sparks flying. Another lunged, claws raised, but the girl sent a blast of light that threw him back. Chamber erupted into chaos. Hunters swarmed like shadows, their weapons firing beams of red energy. The girl's barrier faltered under the pressure. She gasped, sweat glistening on her glowing skin. The human fought with everything he had, his arms burning, his chest aching. He wasn't trained, but he was desperate, and desperation made him dangerous. One hunter grabbed him by the throat, slamming him into the wall. The human gasped, vision blurring, until the girl screamed his name. The pendant pulsed, exploding with golden light. The hunter was thrown across the chamber, its armor smoking. The human collapsed to his knees, clutching the pendant in shock. Girl rushed to him, her hand trembling as she touched his shoulder. You are connected to it, to me. That's why it responds. He looked at her, breathless. I don't understand any of this. You don't need to, she said softly. You only need to trust it. The grandmother's voice rang out. Weak but urgent. Trust each other, that is the key. The human and the girl exchanged a look. Something unspoken passed between them. The hunters regrouped, their leader stepping forward, his armor glowing with dark energy. Enough games, you cannot win. Surrender her, and I will let you live. The human spat blood, his grip tightening on the pendant. Not a chance. The leader raised his arm. Energy crackled at his fingertips, black and violent. The girl stepped in front of the human, her glow intensifying to blinding levels. Their powers collided. Golden light clashed with dark energy, shaking the chamber to its core. Pipes burst, steam erupted, and the floor cracked beneath their feet. The human shielded the grandmother, his heart racing as the battle unfolded before him. He had never seen such power, never felt so small, and yet, somehow, he was part of it now. The clash ended with an explosion that shook the chamber. The leader staggered back, his armor cracked, his helmet sparking. The girl fell to her knees, exhausted, her glow dimming. The human rushed to her, pulling her up. We have to move, now. The grandmother pointed weakly toward a broken staircase, leading deeper into the station. Go to the core. Only there will you be safe. The human lifted her again, guiding the girl beside him. The hunters roared in fury, but for the moment, they had been pushed back as they disappeared down the staircase. The leader's voice echoed behind them. You cannot run forever, human. She is ours. She has always been ours. The human didn't look back. He only tightened his grip on the pendant and whispered to himself, Not while I'm still breathing. The staircase creaked beneath their feet as the human carried the alien grandmother down into the depths of the abandoned station. Steam hissed from broken pipes, and the air grew heavier, filled with the metallic taste of reactor fumes. The pendant's golden glow was the only light guiding them through the darkness. The alien girl walked close to him, her silver eyes scanning every shadow, every corner. She looked strong, yet her steps were unsteady. The clash with the hunters had drained her. Still, she kept moving, her hand brushing against the human's arm, as if to remind herself he was real. Finally, they reached a chamber far below the station. It was quiet, too quiet. Rusted machines hummed faintly, and the sound of dripping water echoed like a heartbeat. For the first time since the chaos began, they were alone. The human gently placed the grandmother against a wall, his arms aching from carrying her so far. He sank down beside her, wiping the sweat from his brow. His body screamed in pain, but his mind refused to rest. The girl knelt in front of him, her expression soft but curious. You fight without fear, she said quietly. But you are not trained. You are ordinary. The human let out a tired laugh. Ordinary? Yeah, that's me. Just an ordinary guy who cleans messes for a living. He looked at his hands, still trembling. But tonight, I guess cleaning wasn't enough. The girl tilted her head. You risked your life for her, and for me. He shrugged. Seemed like the right thing to do. The grandmother stirred, her voice weak but sharp. Do not dismiss what you have done. Many would have walked away. You stayed." Her words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. The girl's gaze softened. She reached out and touched the wound on his chest, where a hunter's claws had scraped him earlier. He flinched, but didn't pull away. Her hand glowed faintly, warmth spreading through his skin. "Be gentle with her," the grandmother whispered. Suddenly, her eyes fixed on him. The human frowned, unsure if she meant the girl or something else. He glanced at the alien girl, who withdrew her hand quickly, almost embarrassed. Her cheeks glowed faintly, as if she blushed. "She meant me," the girl said softly, her voice almost a whisper. He swallowed hard, not knowing how to respond. Before he could speak, a faint rumble echoed through the chamber. Dust fell from the ceiling. The hunters were still searching, still breaking through the levels above. Time was running out. The girl turned to him, her expression serious. "There is something you must know. I am not just a survivor. I am the last of my line. My people once ruled these stars, but we were betrayed. They hunted us down one by one. Only I remain." The human's eyes widened. "Your royalty?" She nodded slowly. "A princess, yes, but titles mean nothing now. What matters is survival." She looked at him with sudden intensity. "You hold the pendant. That makes you part of this. Do you understand? You are bound to me now." He blinked, stunned. "Bound? What does that even mean?" The grandmother's voice cracked as she forced herself to sit upright. "It means you are no longer ordinary. The pendant shows you. It linked your life to hers. If she falls, so will you. And if you fall, her power will fade." The human stared at the glowing pendant in his hand. It pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat. His heartbeat. "I didn't ask for this," he muttered. "No one ever does," the grandmother replied. "But destiny does not wait for permission." The girl reached out and placed her hand over his, steadying his trembling fingers. Her touch was firm now, her silver eyes locked on his. "I trust you." The words struck him harder than any hunter's blow. For the first time in years, someone believed in him, not because of what he was supposed to be, but because of who he was. The chamber grew silent again, only the hum of old machines filling the air. For a fleeting moment, it felt almost peaceful. Then the silence broke. A shrill screech echoed from the tunnels above. The human's blood ran cold. The hunters were releasing something new. Not soldiers, something worse, thought the grandmother's face paled. "They have unleashed the hounds," the human frowned. "Hounds?" "They are machines," the girl explained, her voice tense. "Half flesh, half steel. They track by blood. They will find us no matter where we hide." As if to prove her. Words, the sound of claws scraping against metal echoed closer, sharper. The human stood, gripping the pipe he had been using as a weapon. "Then we don't hide. We make a stand." The girl shook her head. "You can't fight them alone." "But with me?" She touched the pendant again, and golden light wrapped around them both. "Together, we might hold them back." The grandmother whispered urgently, "Do not waste time on battle. Reach the core. Only there can her true power awaken. Only there." "Can she be safe?" The human nodded grimly. "Then we move, now." The three of them hurried through the chamber, the pendant lighting the path. The screeches grew louder, closer, the sound of metal tearing against metal. Shadows shifted in the tunnels ahead, and glowing red eyes flickered in the dark. The hounds had found them. The girl's glow intensified, her hand tightening around his. "Stay close," she whispered. He tightened his grip on the pendant. His chest ached, his muscles burned, but he pushed forward. For the grandmother. For the girl. For himself. And as the first hound leapt from the shadows, its jaws snapping with steel teeth, the human swung with everything he had. The battle for survival was far from over. This was only the next step. The tunnels shook as the first hound crashed into the chamber, its claws sparking against the metal floor. It was larger than any creature the human had ever seen, with a body of twisted steel and flesh stitched together by alien science. Its eyes glowed red like burning coals, locked on him with unshakable hunger. The human's breath caught. For a second, fear rooted him in place. Then instinct screamed, and he swung the heavy pipe with all his strength. The blow cracked across the hound's skull, sparks flying, but the beast barely staggered. The alien girl raised her hand, silver light bursting from her palm. The hound recoiled, its metallic body shuddering under the strange energy. "Go!" she shouted. "We cannot fight them all here." Another screech tore through the tunnels. Two more hounds slithered from the shadows, their movements jerky but fast. Their claws scraped the walls, tearing grooves into the steel. The grandmother gasped, clutching her chest. The pendant must reach the core. Only there can her true bond awaken. The human didn't argue. He grabbed the grandmother, pulling her close, while the girl unleashed another burst of energy to push the hounds back. The golden light of the pendant pulsed stronger now, responding to their fear, to their desperation. They ran. The tunnels seemed endless, twisting in every direction. Rusted ladders, broken doors, collapsed passages. They navigated blindly, guided only by the glow of the pendant. But no matter how far they ran, the sound of claws followed. The hounds never tired, never slowed Dot at one point. The human stumbled, nearly dropping the grandmother. The girl caught them both, her strength surprising. For her slender frame, she looked at him with fierce determination. "Do not stop. If you stop, they will tear us apart." The human nodded, forcing his legs to move despite the fire in his muscles. His lungs burned, but he pushed on Dot, then Dash silenced. The sound of claws ceased. The tunnels grew still, heavy with tension. The human slowed, confused. Where did they go? The girl shook her head. "They are hunting. They know we are tired. They want us to think we are safe." The grandmother's voice cracked in the dark. "They play with their prey before the end." A shiver ran down the human's spine. He gripped the pipe tighter. Every nerve on edge. Suddenly Dash clanged. A hound dropped from the ceiling right in front of them, its jaws snapping inches from his face. The human swung instinctively, smashing the pipe against its snout. The beast roared, metal bending, but still it lunged. The girl shoved him aside, her silver energy exploding like lightning. The hound was thrown back, crashing into a wall. Sparks flew as its steel frame cracked, but it didn't die. It twitched, its body repairing itself, piece by piece. "They heal," the girl whispered in horror. "They never stop." The human's chest tightened. "Then we don't kill them. We outrun them." They turned down another tunnel, this one leading deeper underground. The walls shook with the rumble of ancient machinery. Ahead, faint light flickered, the path to the reactor core. But the hounds were not far. Their screeches grew louder again, echoing from every direction. Left, right, behind they were surrounded. The girl grabbed his arm. "This way." She pulled him into a narrow shaft, barely wide enough to crawl. The grandmother groaned in pain as the human squeezed them all through the tight space. The sound of claws scraped against the entrance behind them, the hounds forcing their way in. The shaft was pitch black, the only light coming from the pendant clutched against his chest. Sweat dripped down his face. Every breath sounded too loud. Every movement echoed like a drum. Then Dash scratched. A claw scraped against the metal just behind his foot. "Faster," the girl whispered urgently. "They are inside." He crawled faster, dragging the grandmother with him, his heart pounding like a war drum. The pendant's glow pulsed harder, as if urging him on. Suddenly, the shaft opened into a larger chamber. The human pulled them both through and turned just in time to see a hound's glowing eyes in the tunnel. Without thinking, he slammed the pipe against the metal frame of the opening. Sparks showered, and the frame bent just enough to trap the beast inside. It roared, snapping its jaws through the gap, but it couldn't break free, at least not yet. The human collapsed to his knees, gasping for air. His body shook with exhaustion. But relief was short-lived. The grandmother pointed weakly to a massive door at the far end of the chamber. The core just beyond that door. Hurry. The girl helped him up, her silver eyes glowing brighter than ever. We are close. But the hounds will not stop until one of us is dead. A human clenched his jaw, tightening his grip on the pipe. His hands bled, his body broken, but his spirit refused to give in. He looked at the girl, then at the grandmother. No matter what happens, he said, his voice steady, we reach that core. The girl nodded, her hand brushing against his again, her touch grounding him. Together, the grandmother closed her eyes, whispering a final warning. Be gentle with her, for she carries more than her own life. The words echoed in his mind, but before he could ask what they meant, the chamber doors trembled. The sound of claws thundered outside, dozens of hounds gathering. The girl raised her hand, energy swirling like fire and light. The human lifted the pipe, his arms steady despite the weight. The grandmother whispered an ancient prayer in her alien tongue. The door cracked open. Red eyes filled the dark. The final hunt had begun. The heavy chamber doors shuddered as claws slammed against the other side. Sparks showered from the hinges. Metal screeched, and the deafening roars of the hounds filled the room. The human, drenched in sweat and blood, tightened his grip on the bent pipe. His arms ached, his ribs screamed, but he refused to let it show. The girl stood at his side, her silver eyes glowing like twin stars, her energy forming in her hands again. The grandmother leaned against the reactor wall, frail but unbroken. Clutching the pendant close to her chest. The door finally burst open. The hounds came, dozens of them, crawling on all fours, their bodies a horrifying mix of steel and flesh, their red eyes burning like coals in the dark. Their claws dug into the floor as they poured into the chamber, one after another. The human raised the pipe. His throat was dry, but his voice was steady. Stay behind me. The first hound leapt. The pipe swung, smashing into its head with a crack. The beast fell, but two more rushed in. The girl unleashed a blast of silver energy, throwing them across the chamber, but her knees buckled under the strain. The human caught her before she fell. You're burning yourself out. Her eyes met his, fierce but afraid. If I stop, we die. Another hound lunged. He swung the pipe again, but this time the beast caught it in its jaws, snapping the metal in half. The broken end scraped his shoulder, tearing flesh. He hissed in pain, but shoved forward, stabbing the jagged pipe into the hound's throat. Sparks and blood sprayed. The creature convulsed and dropped. Still, more came. The grandmother raised the pendant, her weak voice carrying over the chaos. The core! It must touch the core. Only then will the bond awaken. The human's eyes darted to the massive reactor at the center of the chamber. Its surface pulsed with dull, unstable light. Radiation shimmered in the air, dangerous and deadly. He shook his head. If we go in there, we die. The grandmother's eyes blazed with sudden strength. Better to die with purpose than live as prey. The girl grabbed his hand, pressing it against the glowing pendant. You are part of this now. It will. Choose. The pendant flared with golden light, reacting to his touch. The hounds froze, snarling, but not advancing. They circled, growling low, as if waiting. The grandmother whispered, her voice trembling. Be gentle with her. She carries more than her own life. The words struck him again, heavy with meaning. He looked at the girl, her silver eyes, her trembling frame, the warmth of her hand in his. Suddenly, the truth pierced through the chaos. The pendant wasn't just a relic, Dot. It was a vessel. And she was its key. Before he could speak, the hounds surged forward again. Breaking their hesitation, the girl cried out, energy exploding from her body in a blinding wave. The beasts were thrown back, but she collapsed to her knees, coughing blood. The human dropped beside her, pulling her close. "Don't," he whispered, his voice cracking. "Don't burn yourself out." Her hand brushed his face, soft despite. "The blood and dirt. It's not my life, it's ours. The bond only works if you accept it." The grandmother's voice rang out again, louder than before, fueled by desperation. "Take her to the core. Bind the pendant with your heart, or everything dies." The human's mind raced. The hounds were closing in again, claws clanging against the floor. The grandmother could barely stand. The girl's life was slipping through his arms, and the pendant pulsed like a living heart, waiting. He had no time to think. He lifted her into his arms and ran. The reactor loomed ahead, a blinding pillar of unstable energy. The pendant grew hotter against his chest, almost burning, but he pressed forward. The hounds roared behind him, their claws scraping closer with every step. He reached the reactor. The heat was unbearable, his skin blistering, his lungs searing from the toxic air. But he didn't stop. The grandmother screamed from behind. "Now! Place it in the core!" He looked down at the girl. Her eyes were half closed, her breath shallow. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "Be gentle." He pressed the pendant against the reactor. The world exploded in light. The chamber vanished. He was floating, weightless. Endless stars stretched in every direction. Time itself seemed to stop. Dot, and before him stood the girl, but not as she had been. She glowed, her body wrapped in silver light, her eyes infinite galaxies. She reached for him, her hand warm and steady. "You accepted me," she said softly. "Now we are one." He shook his head, confused. "What does this mean?" Her smile was both sad and beautiful. The pendant was never meant to save one life. It was meant to bind two souls. You saved me, so now I save you. Together, we awaken. The core. He felt her hand press against his chest, and warmth surged through him. Pain vanished, his wounds sealed. His body felt lighter, stronger. But more than that, he felt her heartbeat inside his own. Their bond was complete. The light faded. He stood. Again in the reactor chamber, the girl in his arms, glowing faintly but alive. The grandmother stood at the edge of the light, tears in her eyes. Around them, the hounds had stopped. Their red eyes dimmed. One by one they collapsed, their twisted bodies falling lifeless to the ground. The pendant had chosen. The bond had awakened. Dot. The grandmother whispered a prayer of thanks, then looked at the human. "You do not understand now, but one day you will. You are not her savior. She was yours." The girl stirred in his arms, her eyes opening slowly. Silver met brown. Her voice was soft, fragile. "You are part of me now, and I of you." He held her close, stunned, his heart racing. Then from the silence, a deeper rumble shook the chamber. The reactor's unstable core began to stabilize, its wild pulses evening into a calm glow. The bond hadn't just defeated the hounds, it had healed the heart of the station itself. The grandmother smiled faintly, her strength fading. "The station lives because of you both. But remember, the bond comes with a cost." "What cost?" the human asked urgently. Her lips curved into a knowing smile as she sank to her knees. "The reward you fear is the life you now share. Be gentle with her, for she carries more than her own life." And with that, She closed her eyes for the last time. Silence filled the chamber. The human held the girl tighter, his mind reeling. The grandmother's words echoed in his chest. The pendant, the bond, the warning, it all meant one thing. His jaw dropped as realization struck. The reward was her Dot, not as a possession, not as a gift, but as a bond deeper than blood, sealed by something older than time. Her life was his life was hers. They could not be separated, not without destroying both. He looked at her again, trembling. She gazed back, her eyes soft, trusting Dot, and for the first time, he understood the true weight of the grandmother's words. Be gentle with her, because she was no longer just herself. She was everything.